And we are not live. We're joined today by Sarah York. Sarah, before I butcher any introduction, you want to talk to us a little bit more about what you do, who you are, where you're calling from?
Sure. My name is Sarah York. I'm calling from Houston, Texas, by way of a lot of different places. I work as a Chief Experience Officer in Fractional CMO presently. I've worked across fintech, SaaS, tech in general, multiple different industries. And I'm obsessed with customer experiences.
I'm Ibi Syed.
I'm Sean Collins.
And this is Numbers and Narratives.
Yeah, and so we brought Sarah on because she's worked across some of the most regulated industries, and so theoretically going to be places where they're sort of on the slower end of adoption and much more deliberate end of adoption of things like AI. But she's already has a pretty clear stance on how much of an opportunity it is to leverage. And so I think maybe we start there, Sarah, of like, when you come into a fractional role, kind of, or you start a new project or kind of however you phrase that, like what role does AI play in you kind of onboarding and figuring out what the path forward is?
So with most projects that I attempt, depending on what stage the company's in, first I have to go in and get the lay of the land. I have to understand what they're starting with. Some companies are very advanced and others have not even begun. So, I got to get in there. I got to ask a bunch of questions. I have to get under the hood. For me, it helps to understand what tools they're working with, what their MarTech stack looks like, how they're using those pieces, and then how that intersects with brand and the product that they're putting forth. So a lot of it used to be incredibly manual. And now I can use AI to do part of the audit for me. I can get it to go and look at all the different spaces that the company has in the digital realm and how they're advertising and how they're doing things. And I can synthesize that into something within, an AI tool, and I can model it and understand how I can adjust it. So I can build out that ecosystem, a visual of that. And then I can go in and I can say, okay, this part, they're not doing so great. We should focus in on this, or they need this particular tool to help them with whatever that may be. More often than not, though, a lot of companies don't, especially at startups and earlier stage, they don't build with data in mind. And so I have to come in and I have to infuse that before I can even get to this stage. So it's setting those benchmarks and KPIs before anything else. I do use various forms of AI to do that now.
When you're setting, kind of that, or kind of treating the fact that they haven't built with data in mind, is that really around like goal setting and forecasting, or is that more along the lines of the data that they're ingesting, the events that they're firing off are either inadequate, are inconsistently named, just a kind of bad governance around data overall? Or is it more of like using it as a forward-looking progress tracking mechanism?
So it varies case to case, depending on where the organization is, what they're trying to achieve, what they brought me in to do. At the last company I worked at in the health and wellness space, they had a number of different tools, but they were very disparate. They didn't have a good idea of the full customer journey. They did not know, when people were coming in, how they didn't even have a customer lifetime value. They didn't tell me. So it was very early in figuring out the very basics, like, where do we capture these customers? How are they engaging with us? Where do they fall off? Where can we do better? And again, very, very basic things. They had a number of different tools in place, but none of them were speaking to each other. So you'd have one data set that said one thing and another data set that said something completely different. And you're like, what does this mean? And so we had to scrap it for the most part. You you port over some of the things that are useful, and you do backups, and you have all that in case you need it later. But it had to be rebuilt entirely, and it had to be built in a way that we could get some usable data and that we could start to understand um, those interactions, those engagements. And then you can start layering things on top. But again, like, it was a very, very basic understanding of how are we getting customers and why us? How do we do more of that? And how do we keep those customers longer? Very, very simple things that were not yet understood.
Very interesting.
Super
Yeah,
cool. Can you give us I think I'd love to move sort of, and you don't have to give any names, but I'd
Okay.
love to sort of like move from like the high level layer into like examples, just because like people tend to kind of act as like stories. Like one thing that would be really, really interesting is hearing how you walk through how do you sort of close the loop on that kind of thing, right? So you come in, you kind of see what's the outcome, right? Like what is the biggest outcome? Because oftentimes, especially when you look at customer experience, so many CEOs still see that world as like only a cost center, right? They think that you say customer experience, they hear customer support, right? They're like, yo, like this is a cost center. This is never going to be something that builds our brand. I think that
offshore it, automate it, get it out of here.
yeah, offshore it, automate it, whatever. What do you see if you're somebody who, is the overlap between the customer experience and actual growth metrics like LTV? What's the sort of the most common path that you see when people do improve those things? What do they see more of? What metrics go up? How should you be sort of tracking how customer experience impacts a metric?
Sure, sure. So we'll pull from health and wellness. So in health and wellness, the experience is about trust and transformation, right? It's how every touch point from lab results to a coaching call makes someone feel seen, understood, and empowered to take that ownership of their health. And so when the science and the story and the systems align, that's when real change happens. That's when we see that needle moving. So I can give you, rather than using my clients for a number of different reasons, I can give you an example of how that needle can be moved just in like that human interaction that takes place that may be driven by a touch point. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the pet world. I know Sean said that he had a dog and he's an animal lover. There's a company called Chewy out there, right? And Chewy, they do animal products, pet supplies, things of that nature. Chewy did something that was pretty much unheard of in the industry, and they infused a touch point at a moment when most customers fall off. Okay, heaven forbid your pet passes away. When your pet passes away, you go into the platform because you have automated delivery of the pet food or whatever it is, and you turn that off. That touch point, then it asks you, why are you canceling this subscription? One of the things that they ask is, are you unhappy with the product? Is the pet, deceased? Those type of things. And you click that button, you interact with it, you say, unfortunately my pet passed away, and close that out. And they don't push you down like to re-engage or do anything like that. Buy from us again. It's like, okay, got it, understood, thank you. That transaction you think is done, and you don't think about it again. But they did a really interesting thing. They took that and they sent their customers like a condolence letter and a gift from Chewy. And like that became kind of a human moment that was caused by an automation, right? By a data point. And they made that customer feel seen again, feel like the brand understands, I'm a pet owner. I love my animals so, so much. And they made that moment here. And so through that, I don't know if you all saw it. This was, when they first started doing this, like you would see things online like, oh my God, Chewy's amazing. This thing showed up. Like it's, I can't believe that they did this. And then the real win is that customer advocacy. It's when that customer starts talking about your brand, starts speaking out about how wonderful you are, how you made a difference in their life. Like, that's what I try to do. Again, using data and different touch points to do that. But going in and putting that human element, that engagement, that customer centricity into that engagement with the potential customer or the existing customer or what have you,
Yeah.
that user experience. Make it
Sean, this
unforgettable.
reminds me of the coterie coffee thing. We had an episode, it was like one of our earliest ones where we talked about this, I think. But it's basically like surprise and delight at scale, right? Like you can, like one thing that's difficult is, okay, I need to try to make every interaction personal because look, let's analyze it only through a business context for a sec. Like the outcome that you get is like brand marketing. If the thing that's what you're trying to do, and again, like it kind of makes the Chewy thing sound a little heartless when I say it like that. So I actually really like that. I think that more brands should do something like that. The thing that's an issue is that like you can't, like if you're if you have like 7 minutes to like try to close a ticket, you can't also throw in something personal in there. At least that's like unique to every single customer. So then how do you take it and put it on its head, right? How do you like find people that you know are at a significant pain point in their journey and do something that seems to go above and beyond, right? Or at least is something that you don't have to do, right? Like you could make that a soulless thing where it's like, okay, I'm losing this customer. Like I like this customer, like unless they buy a new pet, is not going to come back to use my product. So like, how do I turn this interaction into a positive one where like they either remember me the next time they get a pet or like it's something so awesome that they go talk about it. You can like start to scale things like that with data, right? Like you either have a listener on top of your customer support tickets that say, hey, I'm canceling this because my dog passed away, or you do what you sort of create like a widget on your website during in your cancellation
Right.
flow. We've seen like we could talk about like when that goes wrong, which is really funny. Like there's this the grocery store chain in New Zealand that what they would do is they would tell you that they are going to send you well, the thing that they were trying to do is they were trying to get more people to sign up for their loyalty program. And so they're like, hey, like if you sign up for our loyalty program and you scan your receipt in, we will send you recipes based on like what you bought. It's like a free recipe book. And what they did was they basically just like had AI, they fed AI like every person's recipe and had it like every person's like receipt and had them come with a recipe. The issue is that sometimes people would come in and they would buy like milk, eggs, flour, and fertilizer. And so it would then the AI then would send them recipes like poison cookies for when you want to poison your and so like it's really really interesting where there are like kind of two sides of that where you can use it and it sometimes will go hilariously wrong, but
there's
Yeah.
there's ways to do it that are super high touch, right? So you mentioned coterie but then didn't give the example, right? And so the coterie example, Rebecca came on our podcast, one of our early episodes. They use Cotera to monitor reviews and alert the team if there's an extreme review or extreme kind of sentiment within a review, which normally would be like 1-star reviews. But there's some they had this one where it was a 5-star review, but there was like this one sort of, oh, but I wish this, and so the AI alerted their team, and their team was able to deliver on that I wish. And so just like, who would have thought you would lean into a 5-star review and try and make it better, and it was. And so then this person became a huge champion, and that was great. But it can be smaller too. Like, so we had Maggie Glasscott on from Buffer, and one thing Buffer does is if they see you not using the tool, they just stop billing you. And I don't think it's like automate. I don't think it's like every trailing 30 days based on the news I've been seeing. Like it seems like it's kind of being done like in bulk. Like, okay, let's review all these users and see who's not using it and cancel and refund. But like just like a human moment where like it's kind of like what it made me think about, Sarah, with your story on Chewy. It's like, well, I think so often we focus on trying to do like the digital easy automation as opposed to like to your point, it'd be like flipping it on its head. How would you solve this problem if you were at a counter of a brick and mortar store that you owned? And then like, how do we get to a place where we can get as close to possible as automating it that way? Where like, if someone came in and said, hey, my dog just died, you'd be like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. Like, we're going to cancel everything that you don't even like think about. We will cancel everything for you. You know, here's like a flower bouquet or like a dinner on us or something. You would do something sweet for them. But then suddenly we're separated by electrons, and it's like, oh, you want to cancel? Well, here's a 10% discount code, and we're going to have you in a drip email campaign to try and win you back, and we're going to retarget you with ads. And it's like, where's the humanity? Like, what if we just tried to be a little bit fair and like think about it? And I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on, where those touch points are and, why people are falling off and how you engage them. I know years ago, when I got my career started in e-com and what have you, we tried to do a lot around personalization and, user behavior and, what items were people looking at before they bought. And maybe we offer a bundle at a discounted price or whatever that was to try to move the needle to get them to purchase more or get them more excited about what they're buying. I think that that still exists and I don't think that's ever going to go away. But I do also think that there are different ways that, again, you can infuse that humanity into the experience. Um, setting up something so simple as like a social listening tool to understand when your customers are pissed off. Creating a team, Aura does this really well, where there's a team of people on social media that just go and they comment on everything when someone, uh, does a mention of Aura on all platforms. Someone goes and responds. Um, so they're highly engaged. And sometimes they'll share out what customers are doing or what customers have posted. So not all of their content is driven 100% by the brand. A lot of it is coming from the customers themselves, which I think, that more often than not will lead to more sales, right? You have other people talking about how great you are or speaking to some of the things that you're really good at. That has more weight. Like, I'm going to listen to my peers more than I'm going to listen to a company saying, like, we are the best at blah, blah, blah. Like, look at this, whatever report. Like, I don't care about that. Like, hey, my friend used it, had a great experience. It's changed their life. Or she sleeps better because she uses her Aura ring. Like, whatever. I'm going to take that to heart more than direct from the brand.
I feel like I wonder if this is like sort of the rise of like the influencer marketing, like as things like performance marketing kind of become a little bit more even, it's less sort of like, the world is less free. One of the things that we've seen one of our clients do, which is kind of crazy, is they take all of their high spenders, like the top 5 percentile of spenders, put them into a bucket. And then they have AI try to find or what they do is they'll analyze each one's like Instagram profile. And if they fit the mold, i.e. they have enough followers and they sort of like have the same aesthetic and there's like nothing problematic, they have AI like sort of score everyone. And for the people that score highly and spend a lot of money, they will automatically say, hey, we will give you a product for free if you post about it on your thing. And they basically have just bootstrapped, because these are people that are likely to say yes. They're
Yeah.
they're like, hell yeah, like I spent a ton of money with you. They've already gone past their CAC, they're high LTV, and they have a captive audience that will listen to them. So why not actively monitor that sort of thing?
It's not new. It's really not. Like,
Yeah.
when I started 20 years ago, we called it affiliate marketing. Now it's called
Yep.
influencer marketing, but it's the same idea, right? It's just now, people are willing to put their face in front of a camera and actually speak about it. It's not just, oh, I built this blog and, I'm going to put this out or whatever, like it used to be. Yeah, I think that's really changed how people are marketing. Another big thing too, I mean, let's not forget the way people search is different. It varies generation to generation. So the boomer is going to engage a lot differently then Gen Z, um, you know, Gen Z, a lot of it get their information through social media. So they may do a search on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. They're not going to Google and putting it in Google and clicking on that first or second result that's an ad. Like they know better than to do that. So you also have to think about like who is your ideal customer? Like how do we meet that person where they're at? How do we need to engage? And so, the example that you gave about engaging that influencer for that particular brand, like that makes a lot of sense because if they know that's where they're getting a lot more traction, then writing articles and putting stuff on a website, like by all means, that makes sense. But if you're, a lot of the companies that I've worked with are these behemoths that are a little bit behind. And, whether it's working with like a company like SciEx that does mass spectrometers, um, I don't expect you all to know what that is, but they engage heavily with scientists.
The
So
mass spec.
they yeah, they consume information differently. They are very attuned with those research papers and things of that nature. So it makes sense to go after that market in that way. But you have to tailor it with who that person is that you're trying to engage. And then all throughout that process, figure out the ways that make the most sense. I mean, the very easiest way to start doing that is the use of things like heat maps, for instance, so you can understand where people are gravitating, how they're engaging on your digital spaces. Um, it's again full circle to the AI topic. The way I saw things evolve over the last year with how we started to market some stuff within the health and wellness space was we had to be on Reddit. Before we didn't really think about it. It wasn't like a huge marketing tool. Now, because of the way AI prioritizes information, like, hello, you're missing out if you're not there right now. Yeah, I mean, you have to keep evolving. You have to understand that the places and the means by which people learn about your brand and engage with your brand will be different, and they will continue to evolve. So you have to constantly um, adjust.
With things like, like Reddit, um, and I'd call it non-automated social listening, right? Like, so automated social listening, got it. You build a tool, it notifies you, you get a report, you do some stuff.
Yep.
On the non-automated side, and how do you like think about talking to your team and driving that and reinforcing that behavior of where like the first couple times that I started, or the first time I started spending time on Reddit for work and was just like reading, going deep in Reddit subreddits and black holes, like I felt like I was somehow stealing from my boss because I was like, I'm just sitting here reading Reddit all day. Like, how is this my job? So how do you get them to think about like what is an effective use of like how to bracket time to it, how they should think about kind of applying it, how to make it part of their daily rhythm or weekly rhythm without letting it kind of become a distraction? Like, how do you think about managing that?
Yeah, I mean, it varies based on the size of the team, of course. A lot of startups don't have a ton of time or people to be able to dig deep into a lot of these things. And the last company I was at was a startup, and we still looked at Reddit. Like, did we go in and look at every single post? No, but we looked for the themes. So you can go back and you can, look at how far your brand has been mentioned on there and look at the types of things that people are asking. One thing that we found was like initially we didn't have any pricing or anything out there whatsoever. And most of the Reddit threads were like, how much does this cost? What does this program give us? Like very basic things. And like for whatever reason, um, that wasn't part of the marketing strategy before I started. Like you probably want to tell people what they're getting and set the expectation around price at very minimum um, before you start pushing them with a bunch of information because you may be talking to like a black hole. So yeah, you don't have to go down that like tunnel of I'm going to be sitting deep in all the Reddit threads for like the next few weeks. If you have someone that has time, by all means, go for it. You got an intern with extra hours to burn, go for it. I mean, it's not necessarily a huge part of the strategy that needs to exist on a regular basis. Just know that it's there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, again, I hate to like not be specific because I don't have an actual use case
No,
where I
that
can say
that
like
that
this was
makes
exactly what
sense.
we did. But
But it's
I
it's
mean,
more of like
it
a
is.
think of it as like a quarterly or semi-annual kind of like, hey, let's just make sure we're up to date on this, and then as there's time throughout the week, month, whatever, yeah,
Yeah, you
spend
can
some
set
time
like
in
with
there, see what's
anything.
going
You
on.
can set just like a reminder, like, hey, look at this once a week.
Yeah,
Spend an hour. Whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be something that like takes all your time. This is a huge time suck. It's just not worth
but
it.
just in case my boss is listening, can it be where I spend my whole day?
It can be if all of the meat and potatoes of what you have as a company to offer is on Reddit and you see a lot of people engaging with it, then yes, by all means. And I mean, you have to go where you're visible. So if that's where you're seeing a lot of engagement or a lot of negative um, feedback or whatever that is, yeah, you need to go there. You need to figure that out.
One
Um,
thing that's interesting about this, right? One thing that's interesting about this, right, is like the issue that you run into is that the thing that is the waste of time is not the engaging on Reddit. It's the amount of time that you spend mindlessly scrolling over and over and over again to try to find leads. And I actually
yeah,
posted about this on Reddit this morning. It's because we've been
how
doing
funny.
this sales webinar push thing where we keep building we're an automation platform. We build automations. One of the automations weirdly that went live today is I keep seeing people spammy respond to threads that have like the right keywords on Reddit.
Yeah,
Um, and so what
it's
we've
gross,
done is
right?
we've kind of taken it's
So
gross. Yeah, it
gross.
sucks. It's also going to ruin Reddit. The thing that we've done
Yep.
as a flip side is our bot will constantly every 5 minutes run a search for Reddit threads that match. Like for us, for example, like if you were to buy this automation and install it for our purposes, it would be, people looking at AI agents or people asking questions about agent workflows. And the goal is to find communities and posts that you can organically comment and organically support and provide thoughtful feedback into. And so this also like flips it on its head. Like if before you'd need to hire somebody to only scroll through Reddit constantly to be able to find leads, what you can do now is you can just give that to your existing SDR team and say, hey, here is a lead source that you can use to go to Reddit and find people that are talking about the product. And then all your job is to respond to these. These are leads just like any other platform, just like inbound, just like outbound. Go in there and actually like provide value and provide something in a thing. And so suddenly like you've taken this process that was previously incredibly manual, time consuming, and expensive, and you've had AI do the time consuming part of it, but also like make it a lot less expensive. And so, the way the automation works is it runs the search, and then when it finds something that it thinks is reasonable, it'll send it to you in Slack. And at the end of the day, you can go and comment and be part of the
That's
conversation and
awesome
provide
because then
actual
you're
value.
filtering through the noise. That's
Exactly.
amazing. And you can
Exactly.
go further. It's not just send it to your SDR team. You can send it to your marketing team because
Bingo.
then there's areas where they can develop content that's of value. Things that
Yes.
people are actually
Oh,
interested in.
yeah. Because
You need to be speaking to the customer, but you need to be giving them something that they can use, something that they can take away from. You don't want to say like, we're the best, we're amazing. Like even talking about Reddit and how you've created this tool, like that's of value to me. What you just told me is of value. Because now I know, okay, like I can use this and I can get rid of that part of the time suck that Sean was talking about. And then we can automate that part and we can get to the real important stuff. I mean, there's so many different tools that are out there right now, but like the way to get people to understand what tool to use is to show them, is to talk about it. Talk to me about the different pain points. You just did. You know what I mean? Like that's how you get people engaged and seeing the value in what you have to offer. You're solving a problem for me. You're not just saying like we're the best because too many brands do that. Like the number one in blah blah blah. Like cool, good for you.
Yeah, I think that's entirely right. Because what you've just said, right, is like for the SDR team, it's like, okay, these are leads, but for the marketing team, it's, hey, this is every conversation from your target market. Like what you've done is you've effectively just like you've done sort of you found a population that you can then like survey and you can look at actually what they've said. And if you're Lululemon and you're trying to create the next best, I don't know, pant thing to run in or
Okay.
whatever, um going on Reddit and trying to figure out people asking what's the best pant or what's the best running short or what have you, and going through and understanding what they're trying to use the product for or what that market is, suddenly you've
Well,
got
you can
something
look at
there.
trends. You can look at trends. They don't necessarily have to be spot on for your brand.
Exactly.
So let's pretend
Exactly.
again like we're a Lululemon. We know that there's a lot of money right now going towards quality of life, health and wellness. And here I am, I'm Lululemon, I'm building athleisure. Okay, I don't want PFAs in my clothing, so when I sweat, it goes into my skin. Maybe we should focus more on natural fibers. Like whatever that is, you're going to figure that out by understanding what these populations are talking about, what interests them, what drives them, and creating an automation to do that listening for you. Like, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, then you can get down to the real work, the strategy.
And so we spoke a little bit before we started recording about like the good uses of AI. And I think we touched on a couple here, right? With helping to filter through the noise. Before we started recording, you talked about sort of those repetitive lower level tasks. Like how do you identify, or do you have a couple examples maybe of when a task goes from being uh, a bad fit to a good fit for automating or for trying to leverage AI on, and what sort of that decision making process looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I'd look at, is it going to help or hurt that the process? So a lot of marketers now are using AI to create content. I don't personally love that, because you're taking the human out. I love AI for generating topic ideas. I love AI for building outlines, but I'm going to write it. um, I can use all those pieces to create something. But again, I want it to be more along the lines of what a human would say, because you see that a lot of the content, I don't know if you've noticed, starts to look very similar. And there's a bunch of dashes and there's a bunch of ways that you can tell that it's AI without even having to, crawl it and look for those tags behind the scenes. I mean, you can tell the voice, the way that it's presented. And so I think that there's ways to do it better. Um, with personalization, for instance, we talked about that a little bit. Understanding when to use the tool and when to have someone pick up. Like if we're going back to like the Chewy example, you create that moment where you're understanding, the person is going through something, but it's a human that writes the note and sends the package. If you're engaging with a sales team, like Ibby had mentioned, you get all the information and then you have a person do the outreach. You know, I mean, all of us are inundated with messaging constantly. Like, how often are you on LinkedIn where you get like 500 messages from the same guy that is just like a automation that's part of a workflow? Like, I'm not interested. Like, I immediately put like stop or, no, thank you, so that it stops because it's really annoying. Like, you don't want that to be what you leave behind as a company. You know, you can set up that first interaction to be automated. Sure, great, whatever. But then knowing when to quit while you're ahead. You'll see it. You'll see it in the data. You'll see how many people fall off or the engagement rates won't be there. Gee, I wonder why. Because it's not a person. It's not um it's not a real connection that's being made. I mean, with the way things have evolved with social media, like a lot of us have seen the change from human to human connection and interaction to, you know, a form of collecting, connecting and collecting friends and likes and those type of things, but those aren't real. So when you're creating these moments, you have to understand like what, again, going back to value, what is of value? Like what can I give this person that makes sense? And at what point can I give it to them?
It's the service at scale thing, right? It's the
Yeah.
service at scale. Like, how do you be of service to someone? And that's the thing, right? Like, the thing that you mentioned, I think that this is one of the best. This is, I think, one of the best conversations I've had around this, because the thing that's confusing to me, a great example. Like, I run a startup. We are always looking for new customers. I get probably five. I get 5 DMs in my inbox every day, being like, "We can find you leads.
Yeah.
Like, do you hate your SDR team? Like, we will find you leads." It's like, okay, fine, put some leads in my inbox. Like, there are so many ways that you can do this. Like, you can look at my existing customer list. You can find people that are like similar vector. I post my customers online. Like, fine, go to our website, have your AI go to our website, find our existing customers, find their competitors, and say, hey, you should sell to this person because they look
Yep.
like your customer base. If I read that, I'd be like, oh my God, you can find me leads. I should
And
use your
if
product.
and if and if
It's
like
that much more
giving,
effort.
yeah, exactly right. And if giving 1 to 3 example leads breaks your ability to get leads, then you're not a very good resource for me. Because if 1 to 3 caps what you can do for me, then like why would I pay?
The thing
Yeah,
that they're all
exactly.
doing, is what I was taught 3 years ago. When I first got into running startups, YC told us, hey, like, you should write personalized outbound. I got Sean through personalized outbound. Like, we wrote him a personalized message. But the thing that was the rule was, hey, you go to their LinkedIn profile, you figure out like something that they're interested in, you find out something to connect to, and you include that somewhere in the email. And what I've been seeing is that like they just take my LinkedIn profile, they're like, oh, saw you grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, go Huskers, and then they'll just like chuck some shit in there. And I'm like, this is dumb. Like, this is like the worst way you could be using AI possible. It's, I don't know. Sorry, I'm now ranting. You obviously agree with me, but like,
I totally feel you because I get them all the time. I was trying to explain this. I mentor students at varying levels, and I was talking to them about their career search and finding a job. And yes, you can use AI to like shoot off a million different resumes and what have you. I was like, that's great, but let's be targeted. Let's really think about who we're trying to reach, what the end goal is, and how to get there. So, even for that audience, I'm like, AI is fantastic. You can use it to polish up that resume, write that cover letter in a way that makes sense for that position. But then I want you to go and talk to the people that can connect you potentially to the hiring manager or whatever. Like, you need to be the person owning that task, that relationship, like building that out. So, maybe you're not looking at applying to 1,000 jobs a week. Maybe you're looking at applying to 10. But are you actually talking to the people? Like, are you giving them a reason to talk to you? Not just, I would like a job with your company. It goes back to what Ibby had said. Like, if I were to come to you and say, like, hey, I've seen your product, I see what you're doing, and I saw this campaign that you did on Reddit. I think I can take that and 10x it in the first week by doing this, this, and this. Would you talk to me? I mean, probably. And if not, cool, whatever. I shot my shot. But like those type of engagements, those are providing value. Those are showing who you are. That's creating human engagement. Like it makes a lot more sense on so many different levels. Like it's not always a numbers game. For a long time we talked about like one-to-one selling and that was a thing. And now with AI, I think people are going back towards like go towards the masses again. Like I don't think that that's necessarily where we want to be. Um, you know, AI is your tool, but at the core, you still need to be human. You still need to make sure that you're engaging in a way that makes sense, and in a way that is not robotic. Because I mean, look at it. Like we have AI going in and responding to social media posts, and like it's AI talking to AI, like for long periods of time sometimes, because of how it's set up. It's like, okay, cool. Like this is pointless. So
I think that's a perfect place to wrap up, because I mean, that's an absolutely perfect sentiment right there. As a tool, you still need a human, and we need to bring a little bit of critical thinking and humanity to what we're doing. Sarah, I had truly a phenomenal time chatting with you. For anyone who wants to work from you, for you, with you, learn from you, be mentored by you, whatever it is, what's the best way that people can reach out to you?
LinkedIn's probably the best way. I can give you the link if you want to share that after this. But yeah, a human message to me would be great. I don't answer bots.
Can confirm she responds to human messages. That's how we got here, team.
Yeah.
Sarah, thanks so much. Ibby, you're on mute, buddy.
Now you're gonna get a bunch of AI messages that are like, "Loved your episode on human engagement on the Numbers and Narratives podcast with Sean Collins. I would love to talk to you." Insert thing. Um. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. This is super fun, and yeah, we'll hopefully have you again soon. We should definitely do a second and app
Yeah, super
2
fun.
of this.
You guys are awesome.